In 2017, a federal court convicted the largest canned tuna company in America of a criminal price-fixing conspiracy and fined them $25 million. But open the wrong can of seafood, and what you're really eating is mercury, cadmium, sodium phosphates, and decomposing fish dressed up as affordable nutrition. For anyone on blood pressure medication or managing kidney function, those cans in your pantry have been quietly compounding the exact problems your doctor is trying to control. In today's video, we're exposing 9 canned seafood brands that failed their customers, including 2 that were convicted in federal court. Stay until the end because we'll also reveal 4 brands that actually tested clean and deserve a place in your kitchen. Coming in at number 9, Bumblebee, that familiar yellow label. The brand your family has probably been buying since you were a kid. Bumblebee has sat in American pantries for decades. A reliable lunchtime staple, a quick dinner fix, a name so familiar it feels like trust. Then the Department of Justice came knocking. In 2017, Bumblebee Foods pleaded guilty to a federal price-fixing conspiracy. Not accused, not under investigation, not settling out of convenience. Guilty. They paid a $25 million fine for colluding with competitors to inflate prices on canned tuna sold to American families coast to coast. They were cheating you at the register before you even opened the can. But the courtroom wasn't the only problem. Bumblebee has faced repeated product recalls, including one triggered by seal defects that could allow spoilage organisms inside the can. Picture that for a moment. You peel back the lid expecting clean protein. What you might actually be getting is bacteria that slipped through a faulty seal weeks ago, multiplying in a warm, airless environment designed to preserve food, now turned into the perfect breeding ground for contamination. And then there's the sodium. Most Bumblebee varieties contain sodium levels that creep dangerously close to daily limits in a single serving. For people already managing high blood pressure or anyone taking ACE inhibitors to protect their kidneys, one can of Bumblebee can silently push your sodium past the safe threshold your cardiologist set. You don't taste the danger, your blood vessels feel it. A criminal conviction, faulty seals, dangerous sodium levels. This isn't a pantry staple, it's a liability with a pull tab. The brand you trusted was rigging prices while selling you cans that might not even seal properly. That's the baseline. That's number 9. The next brand on this list was also proven guilty in federal court, and it's probably in your kitchen right now. At number 8, StarKist, Charlie the tuna, the cartoon mascot that's been selling canned fish to American families for over 60 years. Generations grew up watching those commercials, laughing at a cartoon fish trying to prove he had good taste. Nobody was laughing in 2018 when StarKist was hit with a $100 million criminal fine. $100 million. The largest penalty in the entire canned tuna price-fixing scandal in American history. StarKist conspired with its competitors to fix the prices of canned tuna sold across the entire United States. They sat in rooms together and decided what you'd pay at the supermarket. They looked at your grocery budget and treated it like a negotiation you were never invited to attend. But here's what cuts deeper than the price tag. Consumer advocacy groups have flagged that some StarKist products tested higher in mercury than labels suggest. Mercury doesn't flush out of your body quickly. It accumulates in tissue, crosses the blood-brain barrier, and lodges itself where it can do the most damage. For adults managing early cognitive concerns or anyone on blood-thinning medications like warfarin, chronic low-level mercury exposure worsens neurological symptoms and can dangerously interfere with how those drugs metabolize in your system. You're trying to protect your brain. Your doctor prescribed medication to help. StarKist is quietly undermining that effort with every can you open and every fork you take. $100 million in criminal fines. Mercury levels higher than advertised. A cartoon mascot still smiling on the shelf like nothing happened. Charlie the tuna doesn't have good taste. He never did. The mascot kept smiling. The mercury kept accumulating. If the 2 biggest names in canned tuna were both convicted of the same crime, surely the other major brands stayed clean. Wrong. Now, at number 7, Chicken of the Sea sardines, the mermaid on the label. The brand that's been a grocery aisle fixture for generations. Budget-friendly, familiar. Chicken of the Sea was tangled in the same massive price-fixing scandal that brought down Bumblebee and StarKist. The same conspiracy, the same backroom deals. The same betrayal of every customer who dropped a can into their cart trusting that honest competition kept prices fair. It didn't. These companies decided your prices together behind closed doors. But the sardine line carries its own distinct and serious problems. Consumer testing has revealed that some Chicken of the Sea sardine products contain higher than expected sodium levels, well above what the label prepares you for. And when independent labs tested the actual numbers against what the packaging promised, the accuracy didn't hold up. The labels told one story. The lab results told another. For anyone on blood pressure medication or following a strict low-sodium diet to manage heart disease, you're counting milligrams at every meal. You're reading every label carefully. You're trusting that the numbers printed on that can are honest and accurate. They weren't. Your doctor set a limit. Your pharmacist reinforced it. You did your part at the grocery store, and the label quietly exceeded the numbers that matter most to people managing chronic cardiovascular conditions. That mermaid doesn't protect you. She just makes the betrayal look friendly. 3 brands deep and 3 brands convicted or implicated in the same criminal conspiracy. 3 brands that had every opportunity to compete honestly and chose not to. 3 brands you've probably bought this month alone. See the pattern? Budget brands cut corners. Familiar names hide behind nostalgia and cartoon mascots. So where does that leave the premium imports with their fancy European labels? Let's find out. This next one has a loyal following that swears by the quality. What the lab results show is a different story entirely. Number 6. King Oscar Mackerel, the gold-trimmed can, the Norwegian flag, the name that sounds like royalty itself. King Oscar positions itself as a premium European import, and many Americans assume that means stricter quality controls, cleaner fish, higher standards across the board. You're paying more because European must mean better. Independent testing told a very different story. Certain King Oscar Mackerel products were found to contain elevated levels of cadmium. Cadmium is a heavy metal you've probably never worried about. You should start worrying today. Unlike mercury, which gets all the headlines, cadmium works in near-total silence. It accumulates in the kidneys over years and decades, and once it deposits there, the body can barely remove it. The biological half-life of cadmium in the human kidney is between 10 and 30 years. That means the cadmium you eat today will still be inside you in 2050. For people already dealing with declining kidney function or anyone taking medication to manage early-stage kidney disease, regular consumption of cadmium-contaminated seafood accelerates the exact organ damage your treatment is designed to slow down. Every can works against your doctor's plan. And there's another angle most people miss entirely. Cadmium doesn't just attack kidneys, it actively leaches calcium from bones. Studies link chronic cadmium exposure to increased rates of osteoporosis, especially in postmenopausal women already managing bone density loss. You bought the fancy can thinking premium meant protection. What you got was a heavy metal that eats your bones and destroys your kidneys, while the gold trim on the label keeps you feeling reassured. Premium packaging. Permanent poison. The crown on the label means nothing. The cadmium inside means everything. If this helps you stay safer at the store, hit subscribe. It's free, and it means you'll never miss these exposés. Number 5 is one most people trust without question. Brunswick sardines. For years, Brunswick has marketed itself as the simple, honest, nutritious choice, an affordable omega-3 source for anyone trying to eat heart-healthy on a budget. Sardines packed in olive oil, clean protein on a cracker. What could possibly go wrong with something that simple? Multiple batches, that's what. Brunswick sardines have been subject to repeated recalls over the years for contamination risks. Not a single isolated incident on a bad production day. A pattern, a recurring and documented problem that suggests the issue isn't one batch that slipped through but a supply chain that consistently fails to catch serious problems before they reach your kitchen table. Consumer complaints paint an even grimmer picture than the official recalls. Reports of finding foreign objects in cans, poorly processed fish with bones, skin, and organs left in fillets that should have been thoroughly cleaned. Open a can expecting neat, ready-to-eat sardines and find something that looks like it was packed in the dark by someone who never actually inspected what went in. The smell should tip you off. Good sardines smell clean and briny, like the ocean. Bad sardines smell sharp, metallic, wrong. Trust your nose before you trust the brand. For people relying on sardines as part of an anti-inflammatory diet, or families choosing canned fish specifically to protect their cardiovascular health, contaminated products introduce bacterial risks that your immune system may not handle the way it did 20 years ago. After 50, immune response weakens measurably with every passing year. Listeria, salmonella, botulism. These aren't abstract medical terms from a textbook. They're hospital stays. They're IV antibiotics. They're dangerous complications that cascade fast when your body is already managing diabetes, blood pressure, or kidney function. You bought sardines to protect your heart. Brunswick's quality control failures could land you in the emergency room instead. That's not health food. That's a roll of the dice disguised as dinner. What's the worst canned seafood you've ever opened? Drop it below. Let's see what people are actually finding in these cans. Think you've been making the smart choice by spending less? Wait until you see what bargain really means. Here's where it gets personal. Number 4. Geisha canned crab. The cheapest option on the shelf. The one budget-conscious shoppers reach for at the grocery store because crab is crab, right? It's all the same once it's in the can. It isn't. Not even close. Geisha crab products have been flagged by the FDA for undeclared additives, ingredients hiding inside the can that never appear anywhere on the label. The agency has also placed import alerts on certain Geisha shipments due to facility inspection failures in the countries where the crab is actually processed and packed. Import alerts mean federal inspectors found problems serious enough to flag every single future shipment from that facility for additional scrutiny and potential refusal at the border. But the hidden ingredient that should worry you most is sodium phosphate. It's used to plump the crab meat to make it look fuller, heavier, more substantial in the can than it actually is. You think you're getting more crab for your money. You're getting a chemical additive that makes less crab look like more while quietly doing damage your doctor won't discover for years. For families stretching a grocery budget and trying to feed everyone well, or anyone managing kidney function and carefully watching phosphorus intake on their doctor's orders, sodium phosphates put dangerous extra strain on organs already working at reduced capacity. They spike phosphorus levels in the blood, and chronically elevated phosphorus accelerates cardiovascular calcification. Your arteries harden. Your heart works harder, all from a can of cheap crab that looked like a sensible deal at the register. The cheapest option on the shelf costs more than you think. It just bills you later, through your kidneys, through your arteries, through your body. The FDA knew about that one. They also knew about this next brand, and they did nothing meaningful to stop it. Number 3. Ocean Prince Smoked Oysters. The small tin you grab at parties. The appetizer that feels like a sophisticated indulgence, a special treat. People watching their cholesterol or families snacking during the holidays often reach for smoked oysters thinking shellfish must be heart-healthy by definition. Not these. Ocean Prince oysters are packed in cottonseed oil, not olive oil, not avocado oil. Cottonseed oil, a cheap, inflammatory fat that directly undermines cardiovascular health goals. For anyone on statin medications trying to manage cholesterol, or people making careful dietary changes to avoid a second cardiac event, cottonseed oil works against every pill you swallow and every sacrifice you make at the dinner table. Every bite moves you backward. But the oil isn't even the worst part. FDA import records show repeated detentions of products from Ocean Prince's supplying facilities. The violations listed on those federal documents include filth and unsafe food manufacturing conditions. Filth. That's the FDA's word. That's what a trained federal inspector wrote on an official government report about the facility producing the food you're eating on crackers at a dinner party or serving to guests during the holidays. Imagine the factory floor that earned that specific word on a federal form. Imagine the equipment, the surfaces, the air. The sodium content pushes well past reasonable limits for a snack-sized portion. 2 ounces of Ocean Prince oysters and you've consumed a significant chunk of your daily sodium allowance without even sitting down to your actual meal. You thought you were treating yourself to something elegant. You were eating inflammatory oil, excessive sodium, and seafood processed in facilities the government flagged for filth. The tin looks beautiful on a cheese board. What's inside it tells a very different story. One you won't find printed anywhere on that elegant label. Drop a comment if any of these brands are in your kitchen right now. Let's see how many of us have been buying this without knowing. Check your pantry. Seriously. Because the next brand is in discount grocery stores across America, and millions of people on fixed incomes are buying it every single week. Number 2. Pompa canned seafood. The bargain brand, found in dollar stores, discount grocers, the back shelves where prices stay low and nobody scrutinizes the fine print. For anyone on a fixed income trying to eat seafood regularly, Pompa looks like the answer. Affordable protein, a way to get the health benefits of fish without the fresh counter markup or the restaurant bill. FDA import records tell a completely different story. Pompa products have been repeatedly detained at the United States border. Not once. Not as an isolated incident during a bad quarter. Repeatedly. Over and over again across multiple shipments and time periods. The violations documented include filth, unsafe additives, and outright failure to meet the basic processing standards legally required for sale in this country. These are products that federal inspectors physically examined and officially determined could not be allowed to enter the United States. They did not meet minimum requirements for human food safety, and yet the shipments kept coming, and the cans kept appearing on dollar store shelves, and people on fixed incomes kept buying them, trusting that if it's for sale in America, it must be safe. For adults managing compromised immune systems or anyone whose body doesn't fight infections the way it did at 30, consuming seafood from facilities with documented and repeated sanitation failures dramatically increases the risk of listeria and botulism. Both can be fatal in older adults with weakened immune defenses. Both thrive in exactly the conditions the FDA documented at Pompa's supplying facilities: sealed cans, warm storage temperatures, zero oxygen environments. The perfect incubation chamber for deadly bacteria when the processing and sterilization weren't done right. And federal inspectors documented, repeatedly, that they weren't. Affordable seafood from a facility that cannot pass a basic safety inspection. The price is low for a reason. That reason should terrify you. The next brand on this safe list tests every single fish individually. No other major company does that. But first, the #1 spot goes to a brand that has been among the most frequently detained imported seafood items in FDA enforcement history. And it's on the shelf at your local grocery store right now. #1, Century Canned Seafood. The brand that offers everything from tuna to milkfish, appealing to shoppers who want variety and low prices in one place. Century is widely distributed across the United States. It's easy to find. And it is, by every measurable federal enforcement standard, the single most dangerous canned seafood brand on American grocery shelves today. FDA enforcement records reveal that Century products have been among the most frequently detained imported seafood items entering this country, not occasionally flagged during a routine check, not borderline on a technicality. Among the most frequently detained brand in the entire imported seafood category. The violations span the full spectrum of food safety failure. Decomposition. That means the fish was already breaking down, already spoiling, before it was sealed in the can and shipped to your store. Unsafe food processing conditions. That means the facilities producing this food could not meet the minimum standards the United States requires to sell food to its citizens. And undeclared allergens. Ingredients inside the can that the label doesn't mention, doesn't warn about, doesn't acknowledge. Ingredients that could trigger anaphylaxis in someone with a food allergy who read the packaging carefully, trusted it completely, and ate what was inside. For anyone managing diabetes and carefully controlling every ingredient that enters their body, or families dealing with food allergies who depend on accurate labels to keep their children out of the emergency room, Century represents a perfect storm of compounding danger. You can't trust the ingredients list because it's provably incomplete. You can't trust the processing because federal inspectors documented the failures in detail. You can't even trust that the fish was fresh when it went into the can because decomposition itself was listed among the official violations. Every single can is a gamble with your health. Century didn't just fail one test, they failed all of them, simultaneously, and they're still on the shelf, still selling, still putting families at risk every single day. That's not a food brand, that's a warning label disguised as dinner. 9 brands, 9 betrayals. From federal price-fixing convictions to heavy metals accumulating in your kidneys. From undeclared allergens to fish that was already decomposing before it was canned. That's what's been hiding behind those familiar labels. But don't give up on canned seafood entirely. 4 brands prove it's still possible to eat clean, safe, trustworthy protein straight from a can. Go check your pantry right now. If any of those 9 brands are sitting on your shelf, get rid of them. Don't finish the can. Your next meal deserves better. Safe pick 1. Wild Planet Albacore Tuna. The only ingredients are tuna and salt. No water, no oil, no broth, no fillers. Wild Planet uses pole and line caught smaller albacore, which naturally contain less mercury. Independent lab testing by Consumer Reports consistently shows Wild Planet contains significantly lower mercury than competing brands. They publish third-party results openly. For adults concerned about cognitive decline or anyone on blood-thinning medication, this is one of the only canned tunas where omega-3 content is high and toxin load is genuinely low. Safe pick 2. Safe Catch Elite Tuna. This brand tests every single fish for mercury before it enters the can, not a batch sample. Every individual fish. No other major brand does this at scale. Safe Catch holds the strictest mercury limit in the industry, lower than the FDA's own action level. For anyone on blood thinners or managing cognitive concerns, Safe Catch removes the guesswork with verified, individually tested protein. Safe Pick 3. Crown Prince Natural Sardines. Sourced from certified sustainable fisheries, packed in olive oil or water with minimal sodium and no artificial preservatives. Non-GMO project, verified with multiple third-party certifications. Independent testing consistently ranks Crown Prince high for omega-3 content and low for contaminant levels. For people needing calcium, vitamin D, and omega-3s without raising their sodium or mercury exposure, this is one of the safest and most nutrient-dense options on any shelf. Safe Pick 4. Henry and Lisa's Wild Alaskan Salmon. Wild-caught sockeye with no added salt. Non-GMO project verified verified, BPA-free can lining that addresses chemical leaching concerns head-on. For anyone managing inflammation, blood pressure, or cholesterol, this brand delivers high omega-3 and astaxanthin content with virtually none of the sodium, mercury, or processing risks hiding inside the 9 brands we just exposed. 9 brands exposed, and most people still don't know. Subscribe now, and if you're watching on TV, tap your remote so you never get blindsided again.